we're doing another recap of day 5 of the Diddy's trial. Please, you guys, subscribe, hit that like button for me, and let's get this going. Now, 50 Cent came out and said Diddy should have taken a plea deal, a new trafficking case. 50 Cent came to a conclusion on Wednesday that Sean Diddy Combs would have been better off accepting a plea deal offered to him prior to the start of his federal sexual trafficking and racketeering trial. After listening to today's testimony, I think the diddler should have took the plea offer. 50 Cent wrote about Combs, whom he referred to as the diddler, in the Instagram post. The shit that they are saying is beyond me. So what do you think? According to ABC News, Combs told district judge during the final pretrial hearing in this case on May that he rejected the prostitute plea deal or unknown. The 55-year-old would have been given a reduced prison sentence. Now, Diddy had rejected plea deal. I think this was during the jury selection. So, man, this might come back and hunt Diddy, man. You know, it's sad that 50 Cent was just saying that maybe he should like looked at the plea agreement and took the plea deal, because when you fighting for your life, man, you don't know, man. You don't know how things is going to really turn out, man. And if convicted, man, you're looking at a life sentence. You're looking at, the government to take access, his his reputation, and everything he got, So now I wanna talk about, these witnesses. Because Justin Bieber speaks out on rumors he was abused by Diddy as a rapper. Trials continue. Now, Justin Bieber insisted he is not a victim of Sean Diddy Combs' alleged crimes, and said he doesn't want to draw any attention away from the accusers. In a statement to a page 6, the 31-year-old pop star representative shared, although Justin is not among Sean Diddy's victims. We got to know Justin Bieber is a victim, man. Now it says there are individuals who was generally harmed by him. They add. It says here, staffing focus away from this reality. Distract from the justice the victims rightly deserve. It says last year fans speculate that the baby singer may have been a victim of Diddy's alleged crimes ahead of the Laffer arrest for the sex trafficking in September 20, 2024. Now, why is it that when NBC, ABC, you have the Wall Street journalists, you had the Business Insider, they was asking from these gruesome photos because they were so explicit. And the court didn't want to make it public. So now we see at this time of Diddy's arrest, videos of the duo resurfaced, including one of them talking about the 48 hours they will be spending together when Justice Bieber was just 15 years old. Another show Diddy telling then a teen pop sensation to keep the details of their hangout a secret. Where we hanging out and what we doing, we can't really disclose. But it's definitely a 15-year-old dream, Cone 55 said in a video. Bad Boys record founder then told viewers that the baby hitmaker was signed with Usher, whom he obtained legal guardianships of him, Bieber. But for the next 48 hours, he's with me. Combs declared, adding, we going to go full buck, full crazy, he says. And several people expected Bieber to speak out when Combs was arrested, but insiders told people that he was focused on his son, Jack Blue, and Haley Bieber, one noticeable person who had a huge involvement in the trial. So far is Diddy ex Cassie Ventura, who had been on the stand at New York City courthouse for 3 straight days this week. The 38-year-old singer had told the court about their on and off relationship that lasts from 2007 until 2018. She gave her account on the alleged freak-off Diddy hosts with her, as well as alleged sexual abuse and blackmail as the trial continued its first week in New York City. Now, Cassie Ventura came out. I believe it was 2018 that Diddy raped. This is not, y'all, this is not looking good for Diddy, man. It's not looking good, man, because more is resurfacing. They're bringing names like Chris Brown, Britney Spears. This is really not looking good, man. And if Diddy's found convicted, will Trump pardon Diddy? His rival is convinced it. The president owed him some favors. One of the Diddy rivals should not claim that President Trump could potentially pardon Diddy for his crimes. The Bad Boy record is currently facing trial after he was arrested for sex trafficking. Now, Justin Bieber finally addressed rumors he was one of Diddy's victims, same as Usher. So it says here, there are individual puff going to be all right. Now, Suge Knight told News Nation Chris in an interview from prison where he is serving a 28-year sentence for voluntary manslaughter, in a hit and run incident. I think he's got some favor with the governments. I think they're going to show him a little leeway. So it says it might not seem like it when it's all said and done, but I don't think he has nothing to worry about. I don't think he's worried because he's going to be a federal. And if he gets convicted, Trump going to pardon him. Now, people talking way too soon on this. You know, this trial is going to be carried. You got to understand, man, the government's in control. So whatever happens, man, if they want to continue this, they want to drag this, you know, the government have control of this case, man. And I don't really, man, how serious this nature of this charge. They trying him out, trafficking, coercion, you know what I mean, engagement with a prostitution with underage. Now, if convicted, Diddy can be facing life in prison. Now, I don't know about you, but this case is really heating up, man. You know, prosecution was asking for a mistrial. But they really want the defense to wrap things up on Thursday. So I'm just giving you guys this recap of the trial, of the Diddy's trial, man. And things is really not looking good right now, man, as we see, man. You know. So it says here that Sean Diddy Combs prosecutor revealed mistrial fear as disgraced star pregnant ex takes the stand. It's one of the biggest celebrity trials of the centuries. And now fear has been revealed that he could spark a shocking results. So it says here, Justin Bieber speaks out on Sean Diddy Combs. So it said Justin Bieber speaks out on Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial. So it says prosecution in Sean Diddy's Combs sex trafficking trial told the Manhattan federal court on Thursday after Cassie Ventura, third day of testimony, that they fear she may go into labor. The federal government wrote in a letter to the judge, the defendant should not now be afforded the opportunity to hold Miss Ventura on cross-examination over the weekend, offering him an additional 2 days to review transcripts of the witness testimony to prepare additional cross-examination. So it says here, the prosecutor has said that they would like Combs' lawyer to finish the cross-examination on Ventura, which begins Thursday morning, to end by 4:30 Friday at the latest now. The amount of time the singer has been on stand have been contentious point at the trial. Now, judge told prosecutor Thursday afternoon, you will have today and the morning tomorrow to finish cross-examination. Adding, this is not the kind of witness who is fighting you. So now, it says here, however, Combs' lead counsel Mark responded that the team was not aware that there was a hard deadline for Ventura. Nothing that is a critical witness in a case that involved a life sentence now. And what universe did you not understand this was important, given was a numerous filing. It says, bear with me, a numerous filing and discussed amongst the parties several times. This witness was going to be done this week. Judge says, hit back. You have a day and a half a day. Now the hour-long testimony has clearly taken a toll on Ventura, who is currently 8 months pregnant. She is expecting her third child. For her husband, Al is fine. On Thursday, the singer asked the judge for a break only minutes into the cross-examination after the lawyer Anna present her of sexual text to the court. Now, rumors are saying that Cassie's husband may take the stand. So it says here on Thursday, the singer asked the judge for a break only 5 minutes into a cross-examination. So it says the lawyer pressed Ventura on a test that says, already ready to freak offload to try and prove she was a willing participant in the infamous freak-offs in which the singer has sex with Combs and an escort. I can't wait to share as some big black, I can't say that, dick. Another test reads, along with a third in which Ventura graphically described of what she couldn't wait for than her boyfriend to do to her. It says the laugher was what pushed the singer 30 8 years over the edge, promising for the break request as she held into her baby bump while on the stand. It says, following a brief intermission Thursday, Ventura returned to testify over the jealousy she and Combe had throughout their decade-long romantic, including heated fights over her. So it says, 55-year-old Combs had liking for the stringer lifestyle, and that then her girlfriend was aware of that. So Sean Diddy Combs says it was more like a stringer party, that he believed that all this played out as consensual, that Cassie had a willing to have an involvement with sex workers. She liked every bit of it. So now it says, prior to the cross-examination, Ventura had to endure 2 full days of the prosecution asking her questions. It says on Thursday, Ventura says she was heartbreaking of the details of the alleged abuse she had suffered, including when Combs would demand she fix her face or watch her mouth and then smack her in the face. So it says, he will bash me on my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me on the head if I was down. She testified that domestic dispute. Now it says Ventura also testified that day about the fear she felt when Combs allegedly handed her a loaded gun while she was high. She also revealed the nickname rapper asked her to call him. So it says on Wednesday now, Ventura revealed even more shocking details about the freak-offs, like the numerous medical issues she struggled with as a result of the day-long sex acts. The singer had also had to rewatch the horrifying 2016 surveillance footage of Combs beating her at a New York City hotel, testifying over what had happened that day. Testimony has at times brought Ventura to tears. She got emotional once when describing the rapper's violent temper. He will just become a different person. His look will just change over. She recalled, and she says the best way to describe it is his eyes just go back. The version that I was in love with is no longer there. The story originally appears on page 6 and is republished here with permission. So, Cassie Ventura was truly in love with Diddy, man. We can see that this was a violent relationship that they had, man. And now rumors is surfacing that Cassie's involvement was consensual on these freak-off tapes, man. And like I said, that's gonna be hard to prove. Whether these, freak-off video sessions was consensual or not. It's gonna be hard on Diddy's team to prove. Because man, the tape that we seen that Diddy was beating Cassie in that hallway was brutal, horrifying. So the jury gonna prove that beyond a reasonable doubt that they believe that this was coercion, that Diddy coerces victims. And I think, man, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard, man, for Trump to give Diddy a pardon if he gets found convicted on these charges. If Diddy get found convicted on all accounts, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for Trump to give him a pardon. Now I want to roll this footage from the news and see what they have to say. We just going over, giving you guys a recap of things in day 5 of this, Diddy's trial.
Because she is very clearly trying to heal. She went through all kinds of therapy for trauma and for sexual abuse, for all of these things. And wait, Randy, we got to readjust here. We're getting pounded with the rain. But she went through all kinds of therapy after 2018 to try and get through all this. And of course, Combs didn't let her go right away. There were other incidents that happened, and she finally was able to break free and build this whole new life for herself.
Let me pause you real quick.
It was stunning.
Let me pause you real quick. As we see lawyers leaving the courtroom, you readjust real quickly, and let's listen in here on Live Now from Fox to what's going on there.
In the coming weeks, but I'm not going to give a date, but as you can see in court, she's very pregnant. She's about to give birth, but she's holding up strong. I mean, having to recount what happened during those 10 years and beyond, and talking about her contemplation of suicide, really just very powerful.
What do you think really is the part that got you? It seemed like she really talked about the love. She really started to break down about how he just wasn't giving her what she needed, and she really felt that.
But they were in love. I think really just she was numb from the drugs that she was taking and everything that she had gone through, and she realized that she had to tell the truth. And she told the truth in November 2023.
Now, Cassie was saying that she was going through Diddy's sex workers being urinated in her mouth, and the medication wasn't healing her. This is why when NBC, ABC, and the Wall Street journalists and we had Business Insider was asking for these gruesome, videos, and the court wouldn't make this case televised. They wouldn't give out the videos. There are some graphic, horrifying, videos, explicit. So, with that being said, man, I remember when 50 Cent said that he had the video. 50 Cent was the one saying that Diddy should have took the deal, because with so much evidence, it's so overwhelmed. And 50 was saying he should have taken a plea deal, especially when they got new trafficking charges, pending. Now, 50 Cent came to a conclusion on Wednesday, May 14th, that Sean Diddy Combs would have been better off accepting the plea deal prior to the start of his federal sexual trafficking and racketeering trial. After listening to today's testimony, I think the diddler should have took the plea offer. 50 Cent wrote about Sean Diddy Combs, whom he referred to as the diddler, in an Instagram post. The shit that they are saying beyond me. So what do you think? According to ABC News, Combs told district judge during the final pre-trial hearing in his case on May that he rejected the prosecution plea deal. So this was May 1st that he rejected the prosecution plea deal. Unknown, the 55-year-old would have been given a reduced prison sentence. Man, when you fight for your life, fam, man, you take that deal, man, because when they got this evidence, these freak offs, videos of him having freak offs. And there's a lot of people y'all want to say is involved in these freak off sessions. And like I said, it's not looking good, man, when they got all the freak off, sessions, the videos, It's not looking good, man. They came and raided his home, found baby oil. Inside the baby oil, they know that there was GHB in the baby oil. They found ammunitions. I mean, it's pretty much a wrap at this point. And they get him on 3 counts. It would be hard for Trump to pardon Diddy. It would be so hard if they find him on 3 accounts. It will be hard. Trust me, it will be hard for them to pardon Diddy. Now, this is a federal case. Y'all gotta know that the feds, you know, they can drag it. They can drag this case, you know what I mean, for probably 2 or 3, 4 years before he gets a pardon, before he goes up for a pardon. It's not easy what y'all think it is, y'all. It really is not easy. When I was locked up, man, this were people fighting for their appeals. You know how long it takes for appeal to get back in court? 2 to 5 years. It takes, you know what I mean, for appeal to get back in court. 2 to 5 years. Now you got to think now whether Trump serve another term or not, which I think he probably won't. But this can ruin Diddy's chance to get a pardon. Because how long they want to prolong it. This is a federal RICO indictment case. Now let's roll this clip for a second.
She filed a civil complaint. She revealed that she settled that case for $20 million.
Were you surprised that she did that?
No, that's a fact. And now she's here in court to tell her truth here. So, as I said, I've said before, we have great faith in the jury system. We're going to let the jury decide, obviously, on Mr. Combs' estate, but today was just a powerful day. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, you're just listening, and they're calling it a powerful day. That is Douglas Wigter, the attorney for Cassie Ventura, as you heard, a powerful day on the stand. Turning our attention back to Lisa Evers there, Fox 5 on the ground. You were witnessing inside. He also made note of the lawsuit and the $20 million that she received. Can you get more into that? What was Cassie like when she said that?
I'm gonna say it like this, fam. Cassie, be honest with you, she didn't really want the 20,000. Well, 20 million. You know what I mean? I take that back. She was saying that she would gave that back because of what she was going through. Abusive relationship that when they was, you know, selling her out for the 20 million, she refused to take it. She said she would have gave it back. You know? And it's to me, man, this thing really got so far in. You know, Cassie, you know, was talking about how she had to experience these sex workers urinating in her mouth. And the medication wasn't even working. But yet Diddy's arguing, saying that, well, this was consensual. I mean, just think about it, you guys. Remember when Diddy signed her into the R&B and these rituals you in Hollywood you have to do. Whether it was consensual or whether she was coerced, that still is to remain. But you guys, it's sick. It's sick that Cassie has to experience that. Abusive relationship. Diddy hitting her, drugging her, dragging her. I mean, you guys, you can't just make this up. Now let's go to this and see what they have to say on it.
She felt like she was coming forward with this, that she had to get this off her chest.
She was, first of all, Andy, to your point, that is Douglas Wigdor. He's Cassie's attorney. He was the one that helped craft that civil lawsuit that basically set all of the wheels in motion since November of 2023. And the reason it became public was because Diddy had refused to settle it out of court. The paperwork was filed, and the paperwork was only in the system for about 24 hours, but it was so explosive that the information leaked out, and then that's what set everything off into motion here. But he's handled other high-profile cases, and he has been with her. He was sitting with her mother, with Cassie's mother, and with her husband and the family in that row that they had in the courtroom. And it's just been very emotional. Cassie broke down talking about the sexual assault. She kept it together. Her composure today. She just walked in with tremendous confidence, and we could see Combs keeping his eye. He was transfixed as soon as she passed the defense table where he was seated with his attorneys and walked up to the witness stand in the court. You could see he did not move. He was like a statue. He was just looking straight ahead. We couldn't see the front of his face, but his body language was just like looking at it, and he literally did not move. His eyes were riveted on her for a long time, and that was a little bit eerie, to tell you the truth. But she held it together. She regained her composure, and that was, these were the most intense moments so far of the entire trial. Now tomorrow, what's going to be interesting to see is who in the defense team is the one that actually questions her and cross-examines her on everything that she has said. So you can be sure that they will be looking at, that they have done research on what was in that civil lawsuit, that they're going to be doing all kinds of preparation for that. It'll be interesting to see what kind of an approach they take, because the defense has maintained that this is domestic abuse, this is not trafficking. However, and you follow a lot of these legal cases, is the prosecution has been putting their they've been building step by step, stone by stone, the various elements they need to prove to the jury that this is in fact sex trafficking, it is RICO, it is transportation of prostitutes across state lines, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. But tomorrow I'm sure will be quite emotional as well, Andy.
Yeah, we're just getting started. 0 to 100, and cross-examination begins early tomorrow morning, Thursday, inside that courtroom. Lisa Evers, I appreciate your time, your insight. You're on Live Now for Fox.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, thank you so much. All right, great conversation there as always. It is so fascinating to see one more time a live look at those doors outside of the courtroom. And of course, we are going to get familiar. No cameras inside the courtroom, and even the members of the media, the family members of Diddy, aren't able to see some of the videos and photos that are in this case. They are sealed one more time.
Okay, y'all. Let's talk about when Cassie testified Diddy's raped her and threatened to release these sex tapes during her first day of her testimony, Tuesday, at Combs Sex Trafficking. You guys, make sure you guys hit that like for me. So it says Cassie described being pressured into degrading a sexual encounter with paid sex workers. Sean Diddy Combs' juror can't hide these reactions to these graphic photos. Now, a new organization asked for access to the freak-off videos. Now, Diddy's federal trial, multiple news organizations are asking for access to the freak-off videos that are central to federal trial involving Sean Diddy Combs. Now, why are they asking for these, exclusive, I say, these pornographic graphic videos? Why? I'm gonna tell y'all, because I feel at some point this trial is bought, y'all. Whatever happened to those 190 witnesses? Some of these people pay to get off of this case, y'all. Why haven't they made this televised? Because look, before Diddy was arrested, the tapes was just flowing through all in the internet. You had tapes of him and Meek Mill, tapes of Diddy and I believe what's his name? I believe it was the pastor. TD Jakes, the Potter House. I mean, you can't just make this up. There was tape of him with Justin Bieber, tapes of him with Usher. We used to fight over the Frosted Flakes. Man, you was fighting over that man's, his private parts. We used to fight over the Frosted Flakes. Come on, man, y'all can't make this stuff up, man. So it says, man, that the federal trial was involving Sean Diddy Combs, according to a variety of major outlets, including the NBC, ABC News, New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Associated Press, Media, and Business Insider have filed a joint court motion asking the judge to allow the journalists and the public to review the sexual video evidence being shown to the juries. Now, remember R. Kelly, when he was acquainted. Now that video was surfacing. Excuse me. Everybody was seeing that video, but for some reason he got found acquainted. A lot of people were saying, "Well, that was R. Kelly in the video. That was him. That was R. Kelly, all right." But some way he got acquainted. So the footage reportedly shows the graphic and possibly non-consensual sex activity. So that to tell you right there that it shows non-consensual sex activity means that this was cohort. So it says considered by the government to be central to the case. However, the trial is not being televised, and all electronics are barred from the courtrooms. So it says on the Tuesday, May 14, the singer spoke in details about the now infamous surveillance footage of Diddy 55 kicking and hitting her outside of a Los Angeles hotel room in March 2016. She testified that she didn't fight back because it made him more violent. So she added that if she did fight back, it surprised the rapper. After the rapper arrested in September, he was accused of sexual abuse and rape by the former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, and a handful of other people. Diddy and his legal team have firmly denied all these allegations made against him now. So he's denying all these allegations made against him. Now, man, this trial is just a tip on the iceberg, just getting started, just heating up, in other words. But I believe these witnesses gonna come forward, whether it be Justin Bieber, whether it be Usher. All they need for these people to say the same exact words of what happened in these freak offs. I've been telling you guys, man, I've been covering up this for the last 3 days, and I've been saying this to you guys that there's a lot of participants in these freak offs. A lot of people was sitting watching these things go down, and the whole industry should be investigated. If you got one man locked up, they need to, they need to really look carefully and go into a serious investigation, because there's a lot of involvement in these freak off parties. And if Diddy go down, there has to be more celebrities. Remember, LeBron James, there was another star. LeBron was saying ain't no party like a Diddy's party. And LeBron, if he has some involvement in that party, man, remember he was walking around the hallway, shower shoes, a long shower towel wrapped around, a shaving kit. Now, I want to say this. Another grown man at a party walking around with a towel on, shower shoes, and beer kit. And remember, there was a witness, you know, that seen these going on. Now, the man that was involved in this sex activity, there was witness at these parties saying and pointing out, you know, that yeah, y'all better do something about this. LeBron said, and there was some other people saying that yeah, y'all better do something because there was so many people. Jay-Z, 50 Cent, Gloria, Beyonce, and they were saying y'all better do something about this now. Now they got all this on tape, but there was over 190 witnesses that was subpoenaed. You mean to tell me ain't nobody saying nothing? They got rid of a lot of people. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to take the stand. How many victims going to come forward? Now, let's roll this and see what they have to say.
So we're following that here on Live Now from Fox. Let's turn our attention right now more on this here on Live Now from Fox and bring into the conversation here TMZ executive producer. I know he's been following it very closely, the Sean Diddy Combs trial there in New York. Michael Babcock, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. We just heard all of that kind of description of what happened inside of that courtroom, a powerful amount of testimony from Cassie Ventura. What was the big takeaway for you, Michael, today?
At Spectrum, we know life moves fast. Keep up with the speed, reliability, and security of Spectrum Internet. Celebrate virtual gaming victories and stay connected anywhere with Spectrum Mobile. Switch to gig speed internet and unlimited mobile today.
Yeah, Andy, I think as powerful as yesterday was, obviously, listening to Cassie recount some of these horrific things that she says she went through, incredibly powerful. I mean, for me, you listen on Monday to the prosecution and the defense frame this in two very different ways. The prosecutors, presented this as if this was somebody in Cassie who was at a enormous power disadvantage, who was forced, who was coerced into doing these things over a 10-year period that she did not want to do. On the other side, though, Andy, you had the defense that said this, it may be behavior that you would not do in your...
Told you guys, y'all, when you got a violent relationship, when you got Diddy beating her in the hallway, you can't, there's no way Diddy can fight about on the night that this happened when Cassie was drugged in the hallway. Is you can't see that. See, they trying to say that, well, Diddy was intoxicated. He didn't have no aware of him beating on Cassidy because he was intoxicated. But that don't give him beating up on Cassie in that hallway like that. Whether drug played a role in his violent behavior, that's not gonna work on the defense. That's not gonna work. You know, another thing is they looking at that 10 years relationship. Diddy was just beating her. Notice that this was just going on way before we knew, way before they had that camera of him beating Cassidy. This happened on numerous occasions. Diddy used to hit Cassidy, beat her, choked her, force her into doing these, activities, cohorting her, Man, there's no way around it. Really, there's no way around this. And they dragging, remember she dragged Britney Spears and Chris Brown name is in it. And then they talking about Justin Bieber. Next you gonna hear Usher. Where these victims gonna have to come forward. Pretty much, y'all, what I'm trying to say here is pretty much they got the video was already surfing through the internet. So whether they come forward or not, I mean, it's just common sense who is on these freak offs. Way before Diddy was arrested, they had videos surfing all through the internet. People seen it. People seen the graphic. I mean, you tell me.
Your bedroom, the proverbial bedroom, but that at the end of the day, this were two adults, consenting adults, making a decision to engage in this behavior. And then to listen to Cassie on the stand today, and for her to say that he not only used videos of these freak-off parties that she said sometimes lasted for 4 days, that he used this video to essentially control her and manipulate her and make her do these freak-offs again and again and again against her will, and used physical violence as well, in her words. It really is a stark, different image than what the defense said it would be.
Yeah, that is the two contrasting storylines, and you mentioned some of this, the PTSD that she sustained, the overwhelming amount.
Look, guys, obviously they got Diddy running a enterprise for 20 years. Obviously, they know that the victim was cohort. Now, the question is how many people are going to come forward? That still remains unknown. But you guys, the state can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Diddy was running an enterprise for 20 years, that there was some racketeering, there was some coercion. Now, they haven't even got, too far in this case where we see some kind of engagement in prostitution. Now, whatever happened to that being charged with engagement in prostitution with underage minors? Now, they had tapes of Snoop Doggy Dogg showing Snoop Doggy Dogg going in on sex workers. They said that Snoop Doggy Dogg was paying for minors to come to these parties. Supposedly. Now, I could be wrong, but they had so many tapes surfing that sex worker was paid. Now, the question is, the state, they got the tape, they got those people that was involved, they got the people that was involved in the freak offs. So the question is, who's gonna be a liable witness? Who's gonna show up? Who's gonna testify? Who's gonna take the witness stand? How many witnesses there are? Did they cut down some of these witnesses? Because we know that it was 190 witnesses that was subpoenaed. Did they cut down some of these witnesses? That's still, that's still to remain. The trial was the last 2 months. So I believe to some point, some agree, witness going to come forward. Just a matter of time. They got to bust Cassie's statement. And, like I said, rumors surfing that they want Justin Bieber to speak out. They got y'all. What I'm saying is they got all of these statements already on tape. Now we ain't already heard the relationship Diddy had with Justin Bieber. They got all this stuff already now. Now we see this trial. Whether they had bought, you know what I mean, the government into slimming down these victims. We know that how many people was subpoenaed in this case. Now whether they, you know what I mean, gonna, you know what I mean, cut down on the victims, that's the remain unknown. But we got a trial, y'all. We got a trial that's gonna be 2 months. So I believe this things is this getting started.
Amount that it is continuing to consume her, even as she went on to have kids, obviously bury her husband in the courthouse today. I want to ask you about that lawsuit because they're revealing up to $20 million feels pretty big, and we're going to hear more about it during cross-examination.
Yeah.
Can you get into that, the price tag of this, and what do we make of the lawsuit, and how important it could be to this trial?
Incredibly important, and I think it's important in that without that lawsuit, I think there's a great chance that Diddy is not sitting where he is sitting, and we're not having this conversation now, Andy, because I think it's possible that charges would never have even been brought here. I think the reality behavior that you would not do in your bedroom, the proverbial bedroom, but that at the end of the day, this were two adults, consenting adults, making a decision to engage in this behavior. And then to listen to Cassie on the stand today, and for her to say that he not only used videos of these freak-off parties that she said sometimes lasted for 4 days, that he used this video to essentially control her and manipulate her and make her do these freak-offs again and again and again against her will, and used physical violence as well, in her words. It really is a stark, different image than what the defense said it would be.
Yeah, that is the two contrasting storylines, and you mentioned some of this, the PTSD that she sustained, the overwhelming amount that it continued to consume her, even as she went on to have several kids, obviously bury her husband in the courthouse today. I want to ask you about that lawsuit because they're revealing up to $20 million feels pretty big, and we're going to hear more about it during cross-examination.
Yeah.
Can you get into that, the price tag of this, and what do we make of the lawsuit, and how important it could be to this trial?
Incredibly important, and I think it's important in that without that lawsuit, I think there's a great chance that Diddy is not sitting where he is sitting, and we're not having this conversation now, Andy, because I think it's possible that charges would never have even been brought here. I think the reality is that Cassie filing that lawsuit got the ball rolling in a big way and in a meaningful way, and people started to pay attention once you had this other person who fine is not the level of star that Diddy is, but that has a lot of it, and that people pay attention when she spoke. And I think her bringing that lawsuit, despite the fact that it was settled very quickly, and now we know for $20 million, which is no small amount of money, I think without that, I'm really not sure that we're here today. I think it's possible that charges would have never been filed. So from that standpoint, and the people that have allegedly been victimized over the years, in a way, Cassie may have gotten them justice by filing that civil lawsuit.
Yeah, that is a very good point. She said she just felt like she needed to do it. Maybe even when she filed it, she didn't know she would be at this point in time testifying before this case in a federal courthouse against Sean Diddy Combs, who she said, even though she was allegedly raped by him as she tried to break it off, still said she didn't really have hate for him, which is very interesting. Another point that I want to bring up is that we haven't heard some of the names, other celebrity names, as much as people might have envisioned during this testimony. Only Kid Cudi and his involvement. Are you surprised by that as well?
A little bit, because I think the speculation had always been that there were a lot of celebrities at these freak-off parties, that they were almost these A-list exclusive parties where you'd have stars all over the place with these crazy things happening. Well, the reality, at least from what we've heard so far, Andy, is that it wasn't that they were involving Cassie and a lot of times random sex workers that, in fact, they found on Craigslist. That these were not people who were famous in their own right. They were perfect strangers to Cassie and to Diddy. And
Look, man, these was just people that was just off in the streets that was vibe to these freak off parties, man. Here's my thing. I don't condone this kind of behavior, y'all. This kind of behavior Diddy did on Cassidy. I don't care if she was trying to get into the industry. I don't care if she was trying to do a ritual and stuff. You gotta understand, this was your girl, right? And you got other sex workers urinating in her mouth, and this is your girlfriend, and you gotta sleep with her, you know what I mean? Kiss her in her mouth, and you allowing her, you know what I mean, to do or sex with male workers, you know, and she was performing or sex, and you know what I mean, they urinate in her mouth, and you know this is supposed to be your girlfriend. See, this is why Jad Wright came out saying that I know people that's living with HIV. 20 people she was naming that she wanted to name during her podcast. Yeah, she can give 20 names that's living with HIV in the industry. And Diddy has to be one. Just look at Cassie Ventura. I mean, this sick, y'all. This sick. I don't see. Look, I don't condone this kind of behavior, y'all. If this your girl, I wouldn't, man. I wouldn't even allow my girl to get in these freak off sessions. This is my girl. This is my girl. I'm rocking with. I'm not just gonna do that. It just don't. It don't sound right, y'all. So that shows you Diddy had affairs, many affairs with different women. So if Cassie wasn't his main, you know, the thing of it is, they had a relationship. It was a romantic relationship. This was your girl. I'm quite sure you got kids by her. I won't allow my girl that I'm sleeping with, that I'm waking up with. So I just don't think, y'all. I just don't think the whole thing that they arguing about consensual. She was in an abusive relationship, and you know what? Another thing that ain't gonna work in his favor, because they got the timeline that Diddy met Cassidy when what she was, I believe what, because Diddy was 37 years old. I think Cassidy was about 19 at the time. That's an 18 gap, y'all. So that tells a whole story itself. Let's roll this clip, y'all.
I think it goes against what the perception was of these parties. So yeah, I have been surprised, and that's not to say that doesn't change, that there aren't celebrities named. You brought up Kid Cudi, and that's because Cassie told a story of Diddy finding out that she had been having a physical relationship with Kid Cudi, and that Diddy just flew off the handle allegedly when he found this out. And she said threatened her with a wine opener, with a corkscrew, and then ended up beating her very badly to the point where she was essentially marked up and down with bruises all over her back. And that's why Kid Cudi came in. So it was sort of on the periphery that Kid Cudi's name was even brought up here.
Another victim named Kid Cudi was supposedly, I guess, was having an affair with Cassie, if I'm not mistaken. And another incident took place where Diddy set car on fire. You know, so like I said, y'all can't make this stuff up, man. They know that Diddy had violency in this relationship. So they're gonna know that Diddy was abusive. They don't play with that, y'all. I want to just let y'all know, domestic violence, they don't play with that. And when there's a lot of YouTubers say that he can get off of this domestic, no man, this is not a domestic violence case. I'm gonna just take it back, but they don't play with domestic violence. I'm just gonna say it like that to y'all. The sad thing is that they got all this evidence now. They got the 10 years of the relationship that Cassie and Diddy had, and Diddy was beating her in this relationship, which the state can prove that she was coerced. She was forced into this activities. She was forced in this kind of lifestyle. And not only that, it got so bad that Diddy wanted to settle out, give her, give her settlement of 20 million. She didn't even want the 20 million. I guess 20 million wasn't enough because she refused at one point. She was saying that she was arguing about she didn't want it. Just because of what she experienced, in the relationship, what she had to go through. For 20 million, you got to go through people urinating in your mouth. You going, you going into this freak off, and you having session with sex workers, and come on, by then, man, she got an infection, don't know what she got, and you mean to tell me, well, I'm just going to just decide to award you $20 million? The sad thing in Hollywood, you remember when y'all see like the red carpets rewards and people being nominated, right? And knowing that some people gets nominated, right, for the Grammy, for the reward, right? And those people that don't, they have to come back the following year. Just think, man. Just think of what they have to do to be a nominee. Just think that they got to go into these rooms. They got to do all this stuff. And if they decide that they don't want you that year to be nominated, right? Then now you got to go right back into the rituals. You got to go right back into doing all these things. Then now they put you right back up, and you being nominated for that Grammy. Just look what people have to go through. Man, I say, man, this is a dirty, dirty industry, man. And man, if Diddy gonna argue saying that this was consensual. See, the bad thing is Cassie did all she can, man, trying to stick up for him. She said the video that they had that she got was consensual, but the judge is looking at these and seeing this explicit videos, nudity, this graphic image. Man, when they seen in their eyes right. They was shocked. They was in belief, man. They was in this disbelief, man. That's the reason why when ABC, we had Wall Street journalists, we had the Business Insider, the media, they was asking for the video. Because they know how explicit things is. And for this case not to be televised, this raised questions. I think that the reason why they didn't want it televised, they didn't want people to get the video, because he has to be given a fair trial. In other words, he had to be given a fair trial. That by them asking for these exclusive nudity videos and graphic photos and videos, they have to make it where he gets a fair trial. It wouldn't be right to show the videos and put the video all on the internet during his trial. It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right that they televise it, because that, in other words, his attorney will feel that he's not given a fair trial. And that would just totally be putting this man's business all on the internet, all on the web, all on the media, and you know. So, like I said, I think, you know what I mean, the truth of the matter, I think it's a matter of time. I think strongly, I think that there's probably still 190 witnesses, because the truth of the matter is just people's life, careers, brands, you know what I mean, reputation. I've been saying on my last videos, all that's on the line, and people is not going to risk it. So, like I said, man, Cassie named a couple of celebrity names, and what's going to happen is more names are going to be dragged, and people are going to have to be willing to testify. So this is just the tipping of the iceberg. This is day 5 of a recap that I'm giving you guys. The recap of, you know what I mean, Diddy's trial. So this, like I said, we got a lot to cover. Let's hear what they have to say.
Yeah, that is a very good point. No names coming up so far. We'll see if that changes during cross-examination. Tomorrow is also interesting, that video inside the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles, that we really saw the genesis of what that fight stemmed from.
And welcome back here now from Fox. I'm Andrew Kraft. We're at the bottom of the hour. It's 3:30 here on the West Coast. It's 6:30 there in our nation's capital. We do have both the House and Senate live right now. You see there, live on the Senate floor. Also live, incredible legal analysts like former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani, who joins me. Nima, good to see you here. This is day 3. There's a lot to get to, but let's start off with this. Cassie testifying that Diddy kept her in a cycle of abuse and exploitation by threatening to release videos of her engaging in these freak-off encounters. This was graphic, a lot of this detail released today. What were the highlights to you?
Well, the highlights with respect to that were this cycle of control, and the way that Combs would control Cassie was with videos of these freak-offs. They weren't just for his sexual pleasure, and Cassie would reportedly ask Combs to delete them, and sometimes he would, and sometimes he wouldn't. Sometimes he would reference them when, you know, they would have fights, even after they broke up. He talked about the skeletons on the iPads, and she was always terrified that he would release these videos publicly, and someone even approached her about a video that was out there on the internet, and she believed that it was a video of the freak-off. And this is one of the many ways that Combs maintained control over Ventura.
You know, Nima, the irony of this all is, about the videos in particular, they're going to be played for the jury in court. So the conversations they may have had, Cassie and Diddy, previously about, withholding them or releasing them, they're going to be front and center there in the court. The public will not be able to see these videos, but the jurors won't they?
Yeah, so the court today put up privacy screens, so the jurors are going to be able to see the videos, but the folks who are in the courtroom and in the overflow room will not. That's the compromise that essentially Judge Subramanian made in this case. So, in many ways, Diddy is responsible for his own downfall, not because of what he did, which is, of course, is the real reason, but in terms of creating evidence that is going to be used against him. So I'd say the two biggest strategic mistakes that Diddy made in this case is, first, not settling with Cassie Ventura. And today the testimony came out that he settled with her for $20 million, and reportedly he wanted to offer only $10 million. Well, he paid that additional $10 million just a few days earlier. We may not even be here today. The second big mistake, of course, is recording those freak-offs, and that evidence will be played, and that, I think, will be the determining factor in this case, just like that 2016 video that we've all seen many, many times from the hotel here in Los Angeles. So that video evidence is going to be the most powerful.
Yeah, that hotel surveillance video now immortalized in a courtroom sketch by the artist there, which I thought was interesting. Back to the settlement, though, we did finally learn it was divulged in court today Diddy paying Cassie $20 million in this settlement. This was settled within 24 hours. How important of a piece of the testimony was that today? That was obviously a civil suit that was settled between two parties, but it was settled quite quickly. We were speaking at the time that everyone involved in this case who was following it was so surprised that Diddy settled that quickly, and now we know the amount.
I was shocked that Diddy settled so quickly and he didn't settle before. So in November 2023, Cassie Ventura was up against the statute of limitations in New York. The state had opened that window for her to file a lawsuit against Diddy. Many of these claims had run their course. They were barred by the statute. But because there was this window to file, Cassie and her lawyers entered into negotiations with Combs, and reportedly it was only willing to pay $10 million, approximately $1 million for every year of abuse. She wanted more. The reports at the time were 20 or 30 million. Now we know that number truly is 20 million. Cassie was forced to file the lawsuit to preserve her claims. Combs, of course, settled it the very next day, but it was too late. Lawsuits in this country are public, and once those salacious allegations hit the news media, other people came forward. And now we know there's approximately 100 accusers against Combs. But as far as this case is concerned, Andrew, I think it was important that the prosecution did two things. They brought out really two, what may potentially be bad pieces of evidence. The first is the civil lawsuit, that this is really not about criminal justice, but this is about money. Yeah. That argument is going to resonate potentially with some of the viewers and some of the jurors. The other key piece of evidence, bad evidence, that the prosecution elicited today was Cassie Ventura's own violent outbursts, both with respect to Combs himself, but some violent episodes involving others as well, including a young woman that she physically attacked. I think the defense will argue that Cassie Ventura was jealous. She admitted to being insanely jealous, and that she was violent. There's going to be an argument, both during the cross-examination, which begins tomorrow, but as well as closing arguments, that really Cassie was the instigator when it came to many of these violent episodes. Not saying I believe it, sure, but I fully expect the defense to go in that direction starting tomorrow.
Yeah, you can admit.
I'm going to say it like this, and I'm always going to say it like this. I want you guys to hear it carefully. Nowadays, they believe women statements over a man. You remember that old saying, man, if you see a domestic violence and a woman, sometimes normally when you get domestic violence, you know what I mean, call, or someone hears some domestic going on, normally police come to the home, and sometimes they'll think that the man is in the wrong for the most part. But when a woman is in the wrong, sometimes they don't look at it. So in this case that we all seen, you know what I mean, Diddy beating on Cassie, you know, they're gonna really believe Cassie's statement over Diddy's, because there's no, look, Cassie can't beat up Diddy, man. She can't beat up a man, man. A woman can't beat a man up, man. Cassie has scars, bruise on her, man. They know, man. They know, you know what I mean, that this was an abusive relationship, man. And that the relationship was so out of hand. And Diddy can't fight himself out this, man. It's so hard to fight out, you know what I mean, a domestic violence case or a case that he has, you know what I mean, with racketeering and coercion. It's hard. It's going to be hard for his team to, you know what I mean, fight back, man. You know, of course they're going to have a strategy, but it's going to be hard, y'all. It's going to be just hard. I just don't see him getting off, because if they find him on all accounts, his assets and things will be taken away, and his kids won't have no access to his accounts. This is some serious stuff, man. You know what I mean? This is some serious. And then they said that the judge will give him grounds on appeal. You know, from my understanding, appeal takes anywhere from 2 to 5 years. So, man, we definitely got to see how this thing going to really play out. Let's go back to the clip.
Imagine, I mean, she's 8 months pregnant. The stress this is taking on her, the toll that it is taking while pregnant, while having to testify in this extremely graphic sense. You know, I want to play out some of this sound that we got today. Leaving court was her attorney, Douglas Wigner. He's pretty high profile as far as victims' rights go. So let's just play that. I want to get you to respond to it on the back end. Let's listen to this.
Thank you. Sir, how do you think she did?
Powerful testimony today.
What was powerful part of it?
Just the whole thing was powerful, and she told her truth. I wouldn't want to be having to do that cross-examination. That's for sure.
Are you worried about how she's holding up being pregnant and having to deal with all that stress?
It's always a concern, obviously, given that she's about to give birth, but in the coming weeks. But I'm not going to give a date, but as you can see in court, she's very pregnant. She's about to give birth, but she's holding up strong. I mean, having to recount what happened during those 10 years and beyond, and talking about her contemplation of suicide, really just very powerful.
What do you think really is the part that got to her? It seemed like she really talked about their love. She really started to break down about how he just wasn't giving her what she needed, and she really felt that they were in love.
I think really just she was numb from the drugs that she was taking and everything that she had gone through, and she realized that she had to tell the truth. And she told the truth in November 2023 when she filed her civil complaint. She revealed that she settled that case for $20 million.
Were you surprised that she said that?
No, that's a fact. And now she's here in court to tell her truth here. So as I said, I've said before, we have great faith in the jury system. We're going to let the jury decide, obviously, on Mr. Combs' faith, but today was just a powerful day. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so there you have it. That's Douglas Wigner, the attorney representing Cassie Ventura. Nima Romani with me still. Nima, your just thoughts? I know there wasn't that much there from her attorney, but Doug Wigner, he means business. He's a big deal, is he not?
He is. He's one of the best plaintiff's lawyers in New York, and maybe the former prosecutor and me and current plaintiff's lawyer here in Los Angeles, I might be a little bit biased, but I agree with Doug. It was very powerful testimony. So yesterday we heard really those graphic and salacious facts, the throwing up, the urine, the blood on the bed sheets, and we heard more of that today. We heard that Cassie Ventura was forced to participate in these freak-offs hundreds of times, even when she had UTIs. So many UTIs that even normal antibiotics like Cipro wouldn't work. And then she talked about the illegal drug use to disassociate and how she would like to use ketamine to just
almost instant cash flow. This is the newest way to make money from crypto, but nobody's talking about it because they're,
give Combs what he wanted, but not really be there when she was going through the motion of these freak-offs. And then she talked about her prescription drug addiction, how she wanted to walk into traffic and kill herself. How now she's in rehab and going to trauma therapy. So she really broke down today on the stand. She had cried before, but today was, I would say, the most emotional moment when she was talking about talking to her mother about the physical abuse that she suffered. So I agree with Doug, very powerful testimony, but as we've discussed, Andrew, this case is going to come down to cross-examination. The direct examination really doesn't mean a whole lot. We know, we expect Teddy Garagos to come after her pretty aggressively starting tomorrow, and this case may come down entirely to how well Cassie Ventura holds up on cross Thursday and Friday.
So let's talk about that cross and the strategy the defense might take. What will they use from the last 2 days tomorrow, do you think, in the testimony?
I think we'll see some of the things that they raised in opening, that Cassie chose to stay with Combs, and she said that she loved him. I expect to see words of affirmation and loving text messages. She didn't leave, and many abuse victims do not leave. So this is something that the government anticipates. They have an expert witness who's going to testify to this, but this is all going to play into the issue of consent. That Cassie Ventura participated in these freaky sex because she enjoyed it and she loved her partner. That's going to be the argument. The second, of course, is going to be the violence that we talked about. That's going to be a big area of examination tomorrow.
So even if you're one of the 12 jurors who may or may not know that point you just raised, that victims of domestic violence, they don't always leave, they can't leave sometimes. But if you're one of these jurors who might not grapple with that question, how are you to make of that? Do you think some of these jurors might be thinking to themselves, well, why didn't Cassie just leave?
I think that is a fair question and a question that a lot of the jurors will have. A lot of the more conservative jurors, especially female conservative jurors, maybe asking themselves, well, why did you even put yourself in that situation? What did you think when you were dating, a rich and famous entertainer, a rapper, a bad boy? Did you think that, it would be a different type of relationship? And they may say, I would never put myself as a juror in that situation. Look, I mean, we've seen this same argument in other cases like Weinstein and cases involving sexual abuse, where people will say, you know what, if you truly did not consent the first time you were raped, why did you go back? It's really because you love the lifestyle, you love the glitz and glamour, you love the individual. Not saying I agree with it, but this is a very compelling argument and the best argument that the defense has in this case. That Cassie consented to all of this, and any violence was because she initiated. So I think that's what Combs is going to argue here through his defense lawyers.
All right, Nima, just last point on this. She said today on the stand, quote, I feared for my career. I feared for my family. It's just embarrassing. It's horrible and disgusting. No one should do that to anyone. You're alluding to the fact, or at least intimating, that those words could kind of be twisted tomorrow, spun, and used against her by the defense, right?
They can. I mean, she was a relatively successful artist. She testified as...
Let me say this. Cassie argued that Diddy always kept her in line. So it says, when Cassie testified that Sean Diddy Combs had raped her and threatened to release this sex, tape. See, the R&B singer Cassie testified Wednesday that Sean Diddy Combs raped her when she ended their decade-long relationship after he locked her in a life physical abuse by threatening to release degrading sexual videos of her. Addressing the Manhattan courtroom for a second day Combs federal sexual trafficking trial, Cassie says Combs forced his way into her Los Angeles apartment and raped her. And she said she was being beaten. Now, it says Cassie also said she didn't feel she couldn't refuse Combs' demand for her to have hundreds of encounters with male sex workers, which he watched and controlled for hours, even days, because he will make her look like a slut if he made videos public. Now, I want to say this. This is sick, y'all. If they had a relationship, if Diddy claiming that, see, this is not love, y'all. You got to think, will you do this to your wife, your girlfriend, that you truly love? This is not love. This is violent love. And it says, I fear for my career. I fear for my families. It's just embarrassing. It's horrible and disgusting. No one should do that to anyone, said Cassie, whose legal name is Cassie Ventura. Now, prosecutors showed the jury 5 still image from the sex videos on Wednesday. Cassie said the image shows graphic, illicit, nudity. So it says one juror eyes was widened, another shook his head from side to side. It says she sued Combs in 2023, accusing him of years of physical and sexual abuse within hours. The suit was settled for $20 million. A figure of Cassie disclosed for the first time Wednesday, but dozens of similar legal claims follow from other women. It says prosecutor accused Combs of his powerful music executive to violently force Cassie and other women to take part in sexual encounters. He is charged with crimes including racketeering, sex trafficking by force, fraud, coercion. Several others accused are set to testify. Combs denied all other allegations. His attorneys acknowledged he could be violent, but say the sex he and others engaged was consensual, and that nothing he did amount to a criminal enterprise. So it says Combs' lawyers was suspected, began cross-examining Cassie on Thursday when they would get the chance to challenge her credibility or poke holes in her account of what happened. It says Combs, 55, had been in jail since September. He faced at least 15 years in prison if convicted. The trial is expected to last about 2 months. So it says Cassie exposed the dark side of the celebrity relationship. Cassie's testimony is exposing the dark underside of a relationship that for years played out publicly in pictures of couples smiling on red carpets, the celebrity events. She says she met Combs in 2005 when she was 19 and he was 37. Combs signed her to a 10-year contract with his Bad Boy record label. Within a few years, they started dating, Cassie says. There was photographed in 2016 attempting the premieres of the film The Perfect Match. Only 2 days after Combs had beat Cassidy and kicked Cassie at a Los Angeles hotel. An attack captured on security cameras footage, as well as photos of the couple at the premiere. So it says Cassie, now 38 years old, claimed that after a motion first day of testimony, said she used makeup to cover a bruise and worn sunglasses to hide a black eye from the premieres. She said she sneaked into a popcorn closet at the movie theater to switch dresses for an after party so bruises on her legs wouldn't be visible. On another occasion, in 2013, while she was packing to go to Drake Music Festival in Canada, Cassie says Combs and her friends threw her into a bed frame. She sustained a pretty significant gap above her left eye. Combs security personnel brought her to a plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills to get the wound stitched up, she says. Afterwards, she says she texted Combs a photo of her injured face and wrote, "So you can't remember?" Combs replied, "You don't know when to stop? You pushed it too far." And continue to push. Sad. It says the Associated Press does not typically name people who says they have been sexually abused unless they come forward publicly, as Cassie has. Combs accused of a history of violence. It says Cassie testified about several others violent episodes early in their relationship in 2007. She says he repeatedly hit her and knocked her to the floor of a vehicle with a blow to her head. In 2011, when he learned she started dating rapper Kid, she says Combs lunged at her with a cold screw and kicked her in the back. After that 2011 attack, she said she lied to her mother at Christmas that it was the first time Combs hit her. I couldn't hurt her like that, Cassie testified. It was terrifying. It's not normal. Constantly being bruised up by the person you love, who said they love you. Cassie also testified that she saw Combs pull one of her friends back over the railing of a balcony in Los Angeles. She said she saw him hit a different friend of her in the head with a hammer. Cassie said she was experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder before ending her relationship with Combs in 2018 and was blacking out and sleepwalking. Cassie says she had a breakdown in 2023. Cassie testified that her life reached a moment in early 2023 when she had a horrible flashback as she was shooting a music video. She says she went home after the video shot and her two kids was asleep, but her husband was there. Cassie says she remembered telling him, "You can't do this with me. You don't need me here anymore." With that, Cassie says she couldn't take the pain anymore and tried to walk out the front door into a traffic, and my husband would not let me. A week later, she was undergoing rehab and trauma therapy. Asked why she testified at Combs' criminal trial, she says, "I can't carry this anymore. I can't carry this, the same, the guilt." So it says here, Cassie forced to read loud, explicit message from Sean Diddy Combs at his sex trafficking trial. Let's go on.
She put up 9 of her 10 records. There was certainly some benefit to being with Combs. I mean, he was giving her gifts and she was enjoying the benefit of being his girlfriend and, going to the awards ceremonies and all the parties that only Sean Combs could be invited to. So I expect the defense to go after her very, very aggressively, use some of her previous inconsistent statements.
Look, I'm gonna say it like this, man. She had the time of her life with Diddy, man. But the violence sees, man. The court's gonna see that, man. They're gonna determine guilt on the defendant, man. Because even though Diddy ran that enterprise, the reason why she loved Diddy because he was a billionaire. He was an entrepreneur, a magician, an icon. She trusted him. She loved him so much. And if you're in a long term, I don't care if you're in a long term abusive relationship and you love someone, but you know what I mean? I'm gonna tell y'all, man. A person can only take so much in an abusive relationship, man, before they call it quit. And this was this wearing Cassie out, man. She never knew that this was going to come the way it did, man. You know what I mean? Just think about 30 years Diddy, you know what I mean, was running an enterprise. His 10 years, 11 years relationship with Cassidy. And Diddy was having, you know what I mean, other affairs, man. Diddy actually brought this on himself, man. You can't go about beating on women and forcing them doing this, forcing them doing that. Now the state knows, man, that this is beyond a domestic violence. This is, man, it's just plain. It's plain to see that everybody could see he was running an enterprise. Diddy brought this on himself, man. You want to settle Cassie with 10 million? She wasn't even good for 20 million. Luckily, she got the 20 million, but you could have settled out for 40 million and just went your separate way. You wouldn't have to put yourself in this kind of predicament. You know, Diddy brought this on himself, man. You know, and no one at the end of the day, no one should feel sorry, man. No one's, you know, you got people got free Diddy shirts, and man, no one should feel sorry for his acts, man. You know, this is just the break of the tipping of the iceberg. Y'all about to see things that's gonna shock you. Just like Tony Buzzy said, it's gonna shock us all. Cause it's just getting started, man. It's just getting started. You know? And man, they got stars like, remember what Gino, you know what I mean, Deal was saying. When Gene Deal was saying they got your favorite celebrities, your basketball star like LeBron James. Ain't no party like a Diddy's party. They had where Kanye was saying that there was a relationship that Diddy had with LeBron James. There was a say that Diddy actually slept with LeBron James, and LeBron James was paid over $100 million. You know, so there's a lot, you know what I mean, to be, you know what I mean, to be said in this case, man. And this is just the beginning of a tip of the iceberg, and they're gonna drag this out, and this is, you know what I mean, that's the beginning, man. Let's roll this clip.
Against her, and we're gonna see if she holds up. I mean, it's gonna be very, very dramatic tomorrow, Andrew. Probably the biggest day of trial so far, and certainly maybe the biggest day of the entire trial will be Thursday.
All right, Bieber money. We're going to leave it at that. Can't thank you enough. We'll probably be speaking tomorrow. Thanks. And
All right, everyone. So we just wanted to showcase just some of the legal experts weighing in on this case. So we are moments away from cross-examination to be starting. We are learning that Cassie Ventura is back on the witness stand right now, and cross-examination is about to start. So that is coming up here in just moments. She's wearing a tuxedo-style jacket today with a light blouse. Her hair tied back into a ponytail. Prosecutors complained yesterday that the defense team was not sharing in a timely manner the evidence it intends to present. On this morning, prosecutors alleged that Sean Combs' lawyers sent about 400 pieces of evidence, some of which were in duplicates in the early morning hours. Prosecutors said that this created a serious inefficiency. Defense attorney said the defense was simply trying to flag everything that its team might raise. All right, so folks, we are waiting for this cross-examination about to beginning in just...
Here's my question. Where are the conspirators? You know, that's what everybody want to know. Where are the conspirators at? You know, I mean, there should be more victims, y'all. There should be Justin Bieber. There should be Usher. And there should be more people. But I believe everything's gonna come forward sooner or later, y'all. It's just they'd have to break it with Cassidy, you know what I mean, statements. This is just the break of a tip of the iceberg. Diddy's whole empire is finna go down, y'all. His assets, they going after it. They going after it, you know. And he's gonna have to, man, look, in order Diddy to beat this, they're gonna have to try to fight for this coercion. It's looking bad already, y'all. With Cassie, you know what I mean, testimony. It's looking bad. And if they get more victims, and see, you gotta remember, man, whoever has the best theory in this trial, with the prosecution and the defense, if the prosecutor can prove the state that this will happen, it's pretty much over anyway. You know, I don't think that Diddy's attorney don't even have no strong argument in this case, man. That's the reason why Diddy brought all these lawyers. Why you got to get all these lawyers in the enterprise in a sex traffic case? See, the thing I'm going to say to you guys, before Diddy went in, they had all these videos surfing. They had them. They already had them. They already had the Homeland Security to invade. You know what I mean? They already had them. They already had all the evidence that they already had against them. So now it's just a matter of time how things play out.
Moments. We heard from the legal experts. We'll hear from some more a little bit later today as well. But again, we'll be giving you these updates day 4, and you heard there that this one could be maybe one of the most important days of the trial. Could be maybe even the most important stretch here in this 8-week or 9-week trial, for however long it's going to be. So hi everyone, Mike Page here. Thanks again for joining us on Live Now. We will be getting you these updates in real time. So thanks again to the viewers for continuing to watch and being part of the special YouTube stream that we are bringing you. The judge began today by talking to lawyers about evidence as final ground rules that are set before the cross-examination by the defense attorney. He denied a request by defense lawyers to introduce text communications between Combs and Cassie that would include references to specific sexual acts. Letters were filed with the judge overnight from both sides. The judge said he wanted to eliminate unfair prejudice or victimization of witnesses there. So, we'll be continuing to wait here for more updates worldwide for you on Live Now from Fox as we continue to bring you these major updates that will be coming from the courtroom today. And again, we have the court reporters inside. They're doing their best to update. And once that does happen, we bring it right out to you. We are being told that Cassie, again, is on the witness stand. Cassie came to court today in a black suit that looked almost like a tuxedo top. She had a light-colored blouse underneath. Kind of give you set the stage there inside as all eyes, no doubt, will be on Cassie, especially during this cross-examination. Sean Combs' lawyers going to try to push back on some of the claims that she made and try to poke some holes in her testimony. We'll be waiting for that and bringing you the updates when they do happen, all right here on Live Now from Fox. But moments away now from the cross-examination of Cassie Diddy, trial day 4. All eyes on Cassie right now. Earlier today, defense and prosecution lawyers were locking horns over what is known as...
Look, I want to say things is finna heat up. And let's say, you know what I mean, how things gonna be in this trial. It's gonna be bad for Diddy, y'all. Because look how bad it's gonna be. They're gonna have him where he's gonna plead for his life at some point. And look, I told you guys, man, told y'all on my last video that how things are gonna really play not in his favor when they get to the closing arguments, man. How his mom's gonna be dragged. They're gonna drag his mom at the end. They're gonna make it like his mom was a bad failure in his life growing up. Which Diddy, you know what I mean? He gotta however you made your bed, you gotta lay in it. You know what I mean? He gotta take full responsibility of his actions. Even though they're gonna bring his mom into it, make it seem like, you know what I mean, his mama has something to do with his lifestyle. With him losing his dad at a young age. You know, that you know what I mean, that can take a toll on someone's life, man. You know, his mama was throwing the wild parties. What do you think? How did he, you know what I mean, lived his wild life? Because when he was a kid, he was in that wild party life as a child. His mama threw these wild parties, these freak offs. So I won't put nothing past it, fam. That his lawyer will, you know what I mean, use his mom into this argument. They're gonna have to do something. And it's gonna look real bad, y'all. Cause it's not gonna look good in his favor. Nothing's gonna look good in his favor, y'all. It's gonna look real bad if because you know, if they find him guilty on all counts, it's not gonna look good. It don't look good already. Because once they get more witnesses, and what Cassie, you know what I mean, testify in her testimony, if they get people, you know what I mean, taking the stand, and if you get a couple more people saying the same thing Cassie's experienced, it's a wrap, y'all. It's a wrap, y'all, because there's going to be more people telling the same story, Cassie. It's a wrap, y'all. It's a wrap. Right. It's no excuse. He's a dope. He should know. He should know better. But I'm just saying, y'all, how they will, during the closing argument, mark my words, they're gonna drag his mom into it. Mark my words, y'all. Remember why I say this to you. That they gonna drag his mom into it. Remember what I say to you. You'll come back to watch this video again, and you're like, man, this brother wasn't lying. Remember, man. Remember I tell you guys that how they're gonna use Diddy's mom in the closing arguments.
The rape shield law, a rule that dictates which evidence concerning an alleged victim's sexual behavior, in this case Cassie Ventura's, can be admitted when the court is considering sexual misconduct. In this case, Sean Combs's. The defense argues that text messages it wants to share about whether Ventura slept with people other than Combs are important to show the defendant's state of mind. While the lawyer's debate has forced on one specific set of messages, the defense wants to introduce similar text conversations throughout its cross-examination and perhaps over the course of the trial as well. Coercion is in the about 30 minutes ago. He's in his usual seat on the defense bench. He is in deep conversation with his lawyers, wearing his typical trial uniform of a sweater, honey-colored, it seems, and white-collared shirt. As his defense team mills about the benches, federal prosecutors are all seated, conversing and reviewing the papers before them right now. So I'll be working to get you guys these updates all in real time here on the Live Now from Fox worldwide for you, continuing to bring you these big top stories regarding the case right now against Sean Combs here.
Look, I'm gonna say it like this: whether he gets off, it will just be. It will be lucky if he gets off. And if the only way he gets off is they cut down on subpoenas of the 190 witnesses. Whether those 190 witnesses paid not to, you know what I mean, be a victim in the trial case, that's just a way that he can probably get off. And that means that the government's, you know what I mean, is bought. That this case, the court system was bought. In other words, man, that's the only way I can think of. If nobody comes forward in this case to testify, and I'm quite sure there are a lot of people know about what was going on. All they need is to get more people like Cassidy, man. That's all they need, is to get more people like Cassidy. Because Cassidy's not the only one experienced these freak-off parties. If they can get some more people to go in and say the same thing Cassidy was saying, Diddy's done. Yeah, money talks at the end of the day. Money talks at the end of the day. So, to me, it's going to be very interesting to see how this is going to play out. How things going to play out. Because, to me, it just don't make sense. See, this is why I feel now. This is why I feel NBC and, you know what I mean, ABC and the Wall Street, you know what I mean, Wall Street journalists and the inside, you know what I mean, inside business insiders was asking for this video because they know, you know, that rather, you know what I mean, rather this be a fair trial. So the only way they give them a fair trial is they have to, you know what I mean, they have to make it where they don't televise his trial. That they don't get these videos out to the public. That's the only way. That's the only way he'll be given a fair trial. Because it won't feel right for them to have the video, for them to show the video. But the thing of it is, here's my thing. If they got all the videos, right? If they got every video, that means on those videos who was involved. They got to get all those people in. They got to have 190 people to have a testimony. That's why the trial, they said the trial can be up to 2 months. It might be longer than that. Because if the trial gonna take 2 months, then they got the witnesses. They got the witnesses. See, this is not a trial that's gonna happen. It's gonna take 2 weeks. They talking about it's gonna take another 2 months. So I believe that they got more witnesses going to come forward in this case. They're going to end up narrowing this thing down, y'all. You know what I mean? I'll be surprised he gets off, man. You know, but they're going to narrow this thing on down. You know, let's go.
to show her as being money hungry, as a woman who's thirsty for attention, thirsty for being a celebrity, and that she, pretty much attached to Diddy in order to be a celebrity, and was willing to do whatever she could to be a celebrity. And that's going to be kind of the theme here of saying, hey, all you wanted was money, you wanted the fame, you wanted the attention, and you're willing and able to do whatever you were able to do. And of course, Diddy went along with this. So that's what they're going to try to play her as. That is a victim here. That is a person who was, allegedly raped or attacked, but as a person who was willfully, had willful acts, who wanted fame, who wanted the attention, and wanted money, and try to, make it seem like she's money hungry and that she had other motives here, and that's why she's doing this, for other motives, to get back at Sean Combs for money.
And then at the end here, we did talk about, we did hear from the prosecution asking about the settlement that she received. She put the lawsuit back in 2023, and a day later, it was settled for $20 million. I think we had some questions from our viewers today. They wanted to know, so she signed the settlement papers. How is she able to still talk about this case here? Does a subpoena trump what she signed here with a settlement with Diddy?
Yeah, most likely, most settlements are confidential. So when you enter into a settlement with an individual, a lot of times they're confidential. However, in certain cases, a judge like this in a criminal case can always bring it up and can always allow certain evidence to come forward. So the defense is definitely going to try to use that to their advantage and say, hey, Cassie, you're out for money. You wanted $50 million. You sued him. You did everything, but you still sued him. So they're going to try to, paint her as a person who was out for money, who actually sued him, got a settlement, and now is still going after him even more.
And today we saw the prosecution, they decided not to show the jury video for some of these freak-offs. Instead, they showed some pictures that were taken from the video, some screenshots. Now, can the defense, if they want to, can they show the jury the actual video instead of photos from it? Because
look, evidently the video contains graphic, explicit, nudity, and all that, right? And etc., right? It's the reason why they're not showing the video to the public, because it contains so graphic, y'all. The video is the evidence who is all at the freak off parties, y'all. How many attendants there was. Everybody and mama was going to these freak off parties, y'all. The whole list of celebrities was going at these freak off parties, y'all. Showed the tape to the public. The public want the truth. Because when you don't give these tapes into the public, they know that they hiding. And that some of these victims is not going to, show up in the Diddy's trial, y'all. That's the only way. See, that's the only way, y'all. That's the only way he gets off. If they just make him and Cassidy, be the focus. But see, I wanna just go on and narrow this thing down for you guys, man. Because I'm not gonna water things down, y'all. There's people gonna testify in his case. And this thing is gonna be far from over. I don't think he's gonna just get off in this case, y'all. It'll be a miracle if he gets off. It'll be a miracle he walks off this case. But like I said, there's so much. His whole assets, his whole empire is in jeopardy, man. So if he walks off, he'll be a broke man. That's the only thing I can look at. He'll be a broke man. But I'd be damned if a man walk off from this case. Because they had that video in the courtroom, and they got They got all the people that was involved in the freak off parties. When you remember when the juries, you know what I mean, saw this graphic, one jury seen his eyes was white. The other one couldn't believe it. So there's people who was tenants at these freak off parties. So the truth of the matter is, they just have to give him a fair trial, though. They have to get this man a fair trial. He had to be given a fair trial. They didn't want him. You don't want to explore someone's business, put their business out there, man. Make this thing televised and let the you know what I mean. Everybody will be watching this trial. Everybody will be actually following this trial. Let's go.
As we all know, photos are much different than actual videos, seeing it and playing out.
Yes, so basically it'll be up to the judge. So if the judge allows the videos to be played, then the defense can show the whole video to paint the story. Because a lot of times you do see that. You see maybe the prosecutor and the defense just show a small piece of evidence, just a piece of a picture. But then the other side comes up and says, no, this is the whole picture. Let's play the whole video. That way you can see what people were doing in these videos. You can see where people were standing, where people were sitting. That way you can try to say, hey, look at the video. She's a willing participant. She wasn't held up against her will. And I wouldn't be surprised if the defense feels like it's to their advantage to play it. Yes, they can open the door and play it since it's already been alleged in this case already.
And early on, it just seems like, of course, the prosecution really focused in on that 2016 video because it actually showed violence that Diddy committed to Cassie. If let's just say that video didn't exist and it was never out there, how much harder of a case do you think this would be for the prosecution?
It definitely would be a harder case. I mean, video evidence, jurors love video evidence. And whenever I do a trial, I mean, when you have video evidence, that's what the jurors want to see. They want to see what actually happened because Mike, I wasn't there, you weren't there, nobody else was there except, Diddy and, Cassie. But with the video, that brings everybody to be able to see what happened that day. So even though you weren't there, you can see what happened. So the video is strong evidence. But without this video, yes, it's a stronger case for Sean Combs because this video makes him look like a madman. I mean, him dragging her down the hallway, he just looks crazy. And even though he might not be guilty of racketeering, however, some jurors might just see this video and say, hey, if he's able to do this craziness to a woman, maybe he's crazy enough to do what he's being charged with by the prosecution. So they still have to prove the case, but this can definitely play in the jurors' heads and almost brainwash them to say, this man is crazy or evil. And if he does this, he must have done something else bad.
And lastly, do you think the defense is going to really lean on women attorneys to do the cross, or do you think it'll be a mixture of women and men? Because we saw just the prosecution, Emily Johnson, a woman, was asking the questions to Cassie.
Yes, if I'm in there, in some cases where involving sensitivity like this, sexual assault, you definitely should have a woman cross-examined. So, and Sean Combs does have a woman on his defense team. So I would definitely have her do that cross-examination just because of the sensitive subject matter, the sensitive nature of the topic here. And I think it would come across a little bit more sensitive to the jurors if you have another woman doing the cross-examination. A man can go up there and do a good job. However, they might be seeing like you're mansplaining something away for sexual assault, which you don't want that to happen. You don't want to lose the jurors because the jurors are the ones who decide the case, and those are the people that you want to like your client, like your evidence, because at the end of the day, the jurors decide whether or not Sean Combs is guilty or not guilty.
I gotta ask you this because I just thought of this, and at this point, I know it's early on in the trial. Tomorrow is only going to be day 4, but for both sides, the prosecution and the defense, do they have members on their team kind of eyeing already some of the jurors to see, okay, you know what, this one looks really favorable to this, or we need to work on this one? Are they already having those conversations, or is that way too early?
No, it's in the very beginning of trial when the jury is selected. You're always looking at the jurors because some jurors are putting their head down. Some jurors have their heads up. Some jurors, when a witness is saying something, they shake their head back and forth like that doesn't make any sense. So you're always paying attention because the jurors are giving you pieces of like golden nuggets on where you need to go with your case and what you might need to explain further or what the jury's confused. Because if the jury's confused, you don't want that to happen. You want to make sure that the jurors understand. So yes, the attorneys are definitely keying in and watching facial expressions and nonverbal cues of what jurors are doing throughout this trial.
All right, Ben Taylor, cross-examination starting tomorrow, giving us a great preview of that. We appreciate it as all. All right, folks, I just wanted to add that conversation that we had with Ben yesterday to really set up what we are going to be looking at here for the cross-examination of Cassie that is on the stand right now. Defense continuing to ask the questions. And what I want to do is give you some more updates that are coming in on Live Now from Fox. As Sean Combs' defense team is now confronting Cassie with loving emails and text messages she and the hip-hop mogul exchanged early on. In one 2008 email, Cassie told Combs she was a lucky woman. I love you so much, she wrote after Combs thanked her for flying to Atlanta to be with them. In August of 2009, in a message sent when Combs went by the moniker Puffy, the rap star told her, I love you so much, it makes me cry. Cassie replied, you hungry, Pop Pop? She testified that Pop Pop was a nickname she used for Combs, while he sometimes called her baby girl. He said no, to which Cassie told him to let her know if he changed his mind. In April of 2010, Cassie told Combs, going to sleep now so it can be tomorrow faster and you can be home. Love you. Combs replied, love my baby. We're also being told from court reporters, Combs appears relaxed as cross-examination gets underway. He's sitting back in the chair with his legs crossed, conferring with his legal team, who is seated right next to him. Let's get some other updates here from the court reporters that are inside right now. The defense asked Ventura if she kept returning to Combs for 11 years. Ventura clarifies it wasn't coming back. The defense asked if she believed Combs loved her and if his cheating hurt. Ventura confirms belief in his love and says cheating didn't always hurt. The defense tries to show defense exhibit. The prosecution objects, not in evidence. Judge agrees. The defense asks Ventura to read it silently. Then why did she send it? Ventura says to tell Combs she was going to dinner. The defense asks Ventura about the context of the messages. Ventura is unsure. Asked about the relationship, she says it was early and it was in the love. The defense offers exhibit. The prosecution objects, says it's for the truth. Judge overrules. The defense asks Ventura to read a 2009 email saying, I love you, smiley face. I'll fly anywhere for you. I love you, Cass. Prosecution objects. Hearsay. The judge tells the defense to ask more. The defense asks about BG from BlackBerry. Ventura says it's baby girl. Defense asks Ventura what she wrote. She says, you hungry, Pop Pop? The defense notes Combs wrote, we are so in love, we don't do anything else. Asked how long they've been together, Ventura says about 2.5 years at that point. So again, that is just some of the takeaways that we are seeing here in this early get-go, where the defense right now is trying to question Cassie and showcase some.
Look, you guys, I just got word that the tapes is so horrifying that they don't want to humiliate Diddy at this trial. It's so graphic, so horrifying. That's the reason why they don't want to release it to the public. You know, the only thing they can do is just give him a fair trial. You know, but when you got Homeland Security invaded his home and they gathered up 1,000 baby oils at his house, and they came across the computer videos and ammunitions, they pretty much got a case on him. When you've been denied, I want you guys to understand, man. When you've been denied 3 times of your bail hearing, they pretty much got a case. And the only reason why he was asking for a fair trial because they didn't, you know what I mean. At some trials, it's televised, right? But they didn't want this one to be televised because this the freak off the videos. The videos is contains graphic, you know, and they know that. That's why NBC, you know what I mean, ABC, you know what I mean, the wall journalists and the business insiders, they you know what I mean, they couldn't get the tapes. They was asking the court for the videos. They couldn't get it because they want him to have a fair trial. But you know, they didn't want this to be because just think about it, you guys. If the tape were to get published and surfaced, and the trial would be you know what I mean, would be televised, it would be terrible. It would be so terrible that people would see the trial case televised. That means that they will have showed those gruesome tapes. So they have to make sure they have to treat this as him giving a fair trial. But the tapes are so graphic, so horrifying. So I think you guys, I think they already got him guilty, but they just don't want to show y'all these tapes because it has to be confidential. He has, you know what I mean, he has to be given a fair trial. They can't televise these graphic, you know what I mean, photos, these images, who was at these parties. No, they don't want to do Hollywood like that, man. But, you know, there has to be more people, man. There has to be more people go down in these wild freak off. I believe, y'all. I believe that there is more involvement in these freak off parties, man. Now, do I believe Diddy's the only one? No, I believe there's more people. It won't be right, y'all. It won't be right that they just get this man locked up. There's more people, man. There's more of these Hollywood celebrities involved in these freak off parties. And I'm just gonna just, you know what I mean? I'm just gonna keep it real, man. You know? I'm gonna keep it real with y'all, man. There's more people, man. Whatever happened to Jay-Z? There's more people involved in these freak off parties. There's more people involved with underage kids and you know what I mean? You can't keep it a secret too long. Because what you know what I mean? What comes out in the light will be seen in the light. What comes out the darkness will be seen in the light.
Of these text messages and emails showing a very loving companionship and yearning to see each other the next time that they can be together. I'm reading on some other updates here on the live now from Fox that we can bring to you. The defense is also showing Cassie Ventura emails in which she and Sean Combs expressed a love and affection for each other. Combs told her that it makes me so happy that you would fly to Atlanta just to see me, with a number of exclamation points, and called himself a truly lucky man. I love you, miss you, can't wait to hold you, Combs wrote. Cassie responded, I'm a very lucky woman. I miss you so much, and and I'd fly wherever to see you. Combs' teammates argued that despite the violence that occurred in the relationship, Ventura deeply loved Combs and willingly had sex and freak off parties to please him. So again, folks, we are worldwide for you, bringing you the latest from the cross-examination. We are seeing more of the legal team that came in from earlier as well. Let's see if I can get more updates here. Update my screen here for the court reporters that are giving us the info. Moments ago, the defense asked Ventura to read the message. I haven't talked to you. You rushed me off the phone. I'm hurt. I don't need money. I need attention. Defense asks if Ventura wanted special time with Combs. She says yes. Let's see, we got some more updates right here. In a flashback to another era, a testimony about the early relationship between Combs and Cassie has contained frequent references to the BlackBerry devices that they used to communicate with one another. Before Apple founder Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone in 2007, the BlackBerry was so popular and addictive that it was nicknamed the Crackberry. The Canadian company that marketed it was valued at one time at $85 million. At around the time Combs and Cassie began dating. And again, the defense is starting with emails, starting with text messages to describe the relationship and try to showcase a different type of a relationship that was presented from the prosecution, and defense trying to show a more loving side to both of them during this decade, more than a decade of companionship. We're worldwide for you as this major cross-examination continues, and we are just getting started for you on day 4 right now, bringing you the updates all in real time and to the best of our ability. When the reporters give us the updates, we bring them right directly to you, just like if you were inside that courtroom. A lot of you have been saying there in the chat how you wish this trial was on camera, and so do we. All right, folks, worldwide here for you on live down from Fox. You're just joining us. Cross-examination has started, and they are just in the early moments of the defense. Not really asking too many questions right now to Cassie, but really having her go over some of the text messages and emails, correspondence that she had with Diddy over the course of 11 years, 10 plus years or so. So they're going through that and showing a really different side than what the prosecution was bringing to the table just yesterday, and what Cassie was talking about. Part of their relationship yesterday and the day before. So again, we are rolling here, bringing you all of the updates in real time on Live Now from Fox as we continue to showcase what is going on here in this major cross-examination. As Cassie's back on the stand time, it is in the cross-examination. While we wait for more updates, we will be continuing to showcase some of the legal analysts.
I want to bring in legal
for that, and that could be a little bit more difficult, depending upon what other evidence the prosecution brings in to support the fact that there were other people engaged in this, forcing her to do these things.
Absolutely, and Adante, we're showing some of those sketches that.
Look, there's other, you know what I mean? victims, man, in the prosecution case. And all they gotta do is get a little bit more victims to have the same testimony Cassie had. See, they're gonna nail this thing down. They're gonna narrow it down, in just a matter of time. They don't really want to expose this man where they didn't want to show you guys the videos. We all got a glimpse of seeing these videos before he was arrested. We all got a glimpse of seeing what was inside the videos, who was at these parties. We all got a glimpse. So, the court is trying to really, make him as, a monster. But the only thing they can do is make him have a fair trial. But they got all the evidence. All the evidence is weighed up, and it's not working in the favor of Diddy's, man. And this is why 50 Cent came out. 50 Cent came out. He should have took the deal, And Suge Knight says that Trump will pardon him. But the people don't know that when you are in a federal case, when it becomes a Fed case, this is when the feds can drag this case. I keep telling people, and I'm gonna say it again, man. They can drag this case long as they want. They can drag it into 4 more years, man. And that's why it's gonna be kind of hard for him to get a pardon. It's gonna be hard because it takes time to get your case back into court. So much is backed up. So it's not. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to say it won't be granted, but just think how long the process would take for him to get back in court. It's a long process, y'all. Cause I remember, man. I remember when I was fighting my case, and I came for my hearing. They kept prolonging my hearing 6 months back, 8 months here, 9 months here. So I know when it comes to court proceeding, court processing, I know how long, it can take, you know. And I think his case is going to take so long because it's a federal case. Now, if it was a state case, yeah, it'll probably be different. He might have action on, getting back into court. But when it's a federal case like this, man, it could be dragged out, y'all. Let's go.
Came out of the courtroom today. You can see that the video was also shown in court, that infamous 2016 video, where it was the first time really that the world at a larger scale saw the abuse that Cassie says she was enduring at the hands of Sean Diddy Combs. But of course, we also know that Diddy also made other threats. It came out today, she testified as well, that the fellow music artist Kid Cudi, his car was actually blown up due to his relationship as well with Cassie. How is the defense going to be able to push back against some of these claims of violence? Because that has to be shaping his character at this point to what they're hearing of what Diddy is capable of, even if they're not touching directly on some of the things that he's been charged with.
Sure. Given that there's so many different allegations as it relates to what she testifies, for example, blowing up Kid Cudi's car, that's what she says. But the question is, what is there to corroborate it? Now, we know from the testimony and some of the evidence is going to come in that the car was blown up. Was Diddy taking credit for something that he didn't do and was just trying to essentially intimidate and harass her, or take credit for something that he wasn't a part of, or did he really do it? There's going to have the prosecution and the government is going to have to present corroborating evidence in order to show that what Cassie is saying is in fact true and not just an allegation. Keep in mind, she had $20 million worth of reasons to come into court and to file a lawsuit, and she received compensation for that. That's also in front of the jury. So her credibility is still at issue. and the government would do well to put things around her, i.e. evidence and other witnesses, to corroborate what she's saying.
I'm glad you brought that up because, of course, it did come out in court today as well that she settled that November 2023 lawsuit that kicked all of this off for $20 million, as you said there. Is she not violating any prior agreements by getting the $20 million by, again, disclosing some of those details of that agreement in court today?
Well, typically, even if there is a non-disparagement clause or a confidentiality clause, which may be a part of a civil case settlement, which essentially puts a gag order on the person from not being able to talk about the settlement or the case, all of that goes to the side if you're under a federal subpoena. You're going to come to court, and oftentimes the way they're drafted, those agreements, it allows a loophole for a person to be able to comply with a subpoena because that person essentially cannot resist or reject the government's overtures or demand to show up to trial. So I don't think she's going to run afoul of that, especially given she may have already had reason to know that this day would come. She would get a civil payday from her lawsuit, but also need to appear in criminal court in order to essentially confront her abuser.
And as we're talking about this lawsuit, again, this happened back in November of 2023, set off the criminal investigation that now Sean Diddy Combs is in court for. Do you think that the defense, and what was the strategy back then for allowing this lawsuit to come out? Because they had tried to settle beforehand, before this officially became public. Why do you think Diddy's defense team didn't work harder to keep this under wraps? Now, of course, he's sitting in court fighting for his life because he could be facing life in prison.
Right. Well, when the tell-all book comes out, or there's a witness who gives us the details, we'll have a better insight as to what was going on in terms of why they didn't settle Cassie's lawsuit early. However, what I would say is, they may have had when she was going to proceed with the book that she was talking about and that this was coming down the line. So they might have said, what would be the use of settling the lawsuit if I still have to face the music in criminal court? Nevertheless, if I'm Diddy's lawyer and I'm thinking about, talking to him, and if there's any inkling, if you will, that there's something to corroborate what she's saying, I'm telling him to resolve the case. Why? Not because necessarily the value of what he's having to pay her, the amount, but more so the line of people who are going to be jumping to try to be at the front of the line to also file their lawsuits against him, be it valuable, be it those lawsuits actually being something that's true, something that's made up in an effort to get a payday. So, and that's what you're seeing going on now. He went from one lawsuit to, I believe, upwards of 40 lawsuits of people claiming abuse and all manner of type of bad conduct. And that essentially opened the door by way of publicizing her lawsuit by not settling it.
Absolutely. And it'll be interesting to see what comes of those other civil lawsuits as well. I want to put this up on your screen. This is from a Variety. They're talking about Cassie's.
Now I want to say this, with Willie D. If you guys know who Willie D is, Willie D's came out and said that they don't rush, they don't, in other words, they don't convict billionaires. So can it be that they break him from his assets, take everything, and then he be out broke? Could that happen? I'm just giving you guys a scenario. I'm not saying that his trial is gonna probably end up that way, but I'm just giving you guys a little scenario here. Because Willie D, I remember watching his video. He says that they don't convict billionaires. But if they got everything on them, yes, they will. But it will be shocking to see if he gets off and they decide to take his assets and let him off and he be broke. But like I say, y'all, I really don't know how things really gonna, how everything's gonna turn out, how everything gonna transpire. Like I don't know how, how his trial is gonna end up. But I do know that there's people that's gonna testify. And if there's more victims testifying, like how Cassie take the witness stand on her testimony, we can just pretty much look at this whole thing you know, pretty much going to be a wrap. Because, you know, all these witnesses coming against him, do he have witnesses to testify on his behalf? That's the question that, you know what I mean, we want to see. But all these people that's coming forward, I don't think they're gonna be testifying on his behalf. You know, I think the truth of the matter is they trying to wait to see what Diddy's going to do. Is he going to give up some names? Because pretty much Diddy, he's not really saying much. You know, so I think the truth of the matter is all the witnesses that they had subpoenaed in, I think they're ready to. Some of them ready to testify. Cause you gotta understand what's at stake here. So many stuff is at stake, y'all. Let's roll this clip.
Mental state. So we do know that while the sex trafficking trial reached a dramatic peak today, when Cassie broke down in tears during her final testimony, the last stretch of her questioning by the prosecution focused on the latter part of that 11-year relationship that she shared with Diddy. This is when Cassie then alleges that she was fraught with physical and psychological abuse. The emotion that Cassie is displaying while she's on the stand there, those jurors having a front row seat to that. How is that likely going to impact their decision moving ahead as they are taking in all of this evidence there from the prosecution as well as the defense later on in this trial?
I think it's very difficult to ignore when you see someone who is presenting as being in pain or presenting as being tormented by past actions, misdeeds, and memories, and frankly, maybe nightmares of the things that happened to him. So I can see that being very moving as it relates to its impact on the jury. But we have to remember, in the course of the trial, emotions run high and low, and the momentum changes from day to day, witness to witness, and answer to answer, because she still is yet to be cross-examined by Diddy's team. And from what we understood took place in court, Diddy's legal team let the court know that they have evidence that they intend to use to, what I would imagine, impugn or to undermine Cassie's credibility and the claims she's making. So, it's still TBD, to be determined how the jury will ultimately take what she says once Diddy's legal team has an opportunity to cross-examine her. And I'd imagine, just as she was on the stand for 2 days and some change now, they're going to keep her up there for a while if they're able to make points based upon their cross-examination.
And that's exactly where we're going to go next with this, that cross-examination. What is the approach really going to be? Is there a certain demeanor that those lawyers are going to have there in the courtroom as they are cross-examining the prosecution's highest profile witness? But Cassie as well is 8.5 months pregnant, and we've already seen her break down there on the stand. She's talked about suicidal thoughts due to some of the, as she says, abuse she endured by Diddy. How does the defense approach this so that way they're coming off in a nature that what they're saying is, of course...
Look, man, she's 8 months pregnant, man. Now, they're trying to get a mistrial in this case and do it all over. You see what I'm saying, you guys? How this case can be really dragged? How they can drag it out for 4 years? He's not going. If he gets a mistrial and all that, he ain't going to get no action on pardons. And see, when you get a mistrial, like Nelly's mistrial, when you get a mistrial, it can get worse. Because they'll have to go back and do it all over again. But it'll be worse, y'all. Because now you get people that pretty much want to testify. Mistrials don't work. Mistrials, to me, y'all, it never works in the defendant's favor. A mistrial is, sometimes the state can, need more time, subpoena more witnesses, but they trying to get a mistrial because Cassie pregnancy. And they want to use Cassie for more leverage. But if you got more of these, victims that's going to come forward, All they got to do is take the final testimony of Cassidy and let the next victim come forward. They don't need to, you know what I mean, have a mistrial. So when you get a mistrial, that means you got to do it all over again. And it's going to buy more time. And it's not going to work in the favor of Diddy. So, however they want to do it, it's just going to be more hard for him that he going to get apart. So, like I said, you guys, when you got a federal case like this, they can drag this thing out long. He just be sitting. But a mistrial don't never work on the, you know what I mean, defense side. Let's look at Nelly. Now they got, you know what I mean, his ex-girlfriend. You know what I mean? And she had to testify, and she had to, you know what I mean, because they had to get her to be the star witness in the case now. So a mistrial, you know what I mean, when you have a mistrial, don't work. Just keep in mind, don't work in the defense hand. Just keep that in mind. Let's go.
True in relation to their client, but not too harsh into the relation where it turns the jurors off.
This will have to be a masterful cross-examination. It's going to have to blend a bit of compassion, some contrition in terms of admitting as it relates to some of the things that did happen, which Diddy has already admitted to, the videotape and things like that. But they're still going to have to be steadfast in pressing forward to extract admissions, to extract conflict and things like that in order to show the weaknesses in her testimony and to exploit that for Diddy's gain in the courtroom. But they cannot walk so firm and so hard to where they then become Cassie's current abuser in real time in front of the jury. So it'll have to be a very careful, masterfully crafted cross-examination. And I'd get your popcorn ready, because I'm sure as a defense attorney, this is one of those moments that you've been looking for as it relates to your career. You're on the front stage, you're on the big stage and bright lights, and you have to deliver.
And as well, we also know that present every day at court throughout this entire process, even some of those pre-trial hearings, we've been seeing these images. The family of Sean Diddy Combs, there you have his son Christian, his other sons as well, Justin, also present there, holding hands with their grandmother or Diddy's mom as well. How does this sort of shake up a juror's opinion on what's going on in this case? They're seeing the family there each and every day, supporting Diddy in that capacity. Does that have an effect ultimately?
I could see it could swing either way, frankly. You know, I've seen that move before where a defendant who's accused of something violent or heinous or something that's very, objected to by society has their family there. And so that's family support. That's important for the defendant. But at the same time, a jury can actually be turned off by that because they're saying, you did all these things. You're listening to this, and you have the nerve to have your mother here. You have the nerve to have your kids here listening to what type of monster or animal you are. What type of person are you? So that could turn off a jury. At the same time, you have family there, and it can also soften the way in which a jury looks at a person as they realize he's not just a monster or he's not a monster at all. He's a family man. He has kids. He has a mother. People who support him despite all these allegations, despite these rumors, despite this case, despite this relationship. He raised kids that are here and they look good and they're minding their manners. Maybe he's not the person that he's being painted out to be by the government and the government's witnesses.
Lastly, before we take a 2-minute break here, because we've got a lot more to discuss as well. As we started off this interview, we played out some of the remarks that were made from Cassie's lawyer. Why is it that we haven't heard from Diddy's lawyer speaking outside to the media? Of course, everyone is paying attention to this case.
Look, one of his lawyers, I believe, was Anthony Rico, if that's his name, if I'm saying his name right, dropped down. Because I believe he told Diddy, man, just go and take the deal, man. They got all this stuff on you. And Diddy refused to take the deal when they went up on a hearing, I believe, May 1st. I think that was the final call for Diddy to get a deal. And he stepped down. Man, look, man, they got all these witnesses. Let's go and take the deal. And then you got all these other attorneys maybe was trying to fight and be like, well, we're just gonna fight all the way. But I believe Anthony Rico stepped down because I believe he was trying to talk to Diddy and taking a deal, and that they were probably was working on to reduce a sentence because you know if he found convicted, that's 15 years to life. So my thing is, what was the deal that they was offering him if he was gonna get found convicted on all count, 15 years in life? So that means that if they were going to reduce his sentence, because normally they can reduce your sentence at a sentence hearing. So I like 50 Cent said, man, if I was dead, I would have took that deal. But this thing, if he took the deal and been found convicted, I think the whole thing of that deal was, I think why Diddy probably didn't take the deal because they'll probably will, you know what I mean, took his assets and things from him. That can probably be one of the ways that Diddy probably didn't want to take a deal. He probably wanted to just go on and fight it, you know. But like I said, y'all, I mean, this is a case where he has to fight all the way, man. His attorneys will have to fight for him, stand up for him, because it's not going to look good when these witnesses come forward, man. Really not going, you know what I mean? It's really not going to look good, man. You know what I mean? This the, you know what I mean, beginning of the breaking tip of the iceberg, y'all. Let's go.
Around the world, trying to get any inkling of information as to what's happening inside the courtroom. Of course, we got a little bit from Cassie's lawyers today. What is it stopping Diddy's lawyers from making remarks on behalf of their client?
Well, I could totally see Diddy's lawyers being hesitant to come out front and give a press conference or give remarks to the media by answering questions on the way to their car. Why? Because they could be posed with some very tough questions, questions that they may not want to have to admit. So what does your client say about the video? Why did he do this? Why did he do that? You know, it may cause more problems than necessary, and it may potentially tip their hand as to their strategy as to how they're going to deal with Cassie and the other government witnesses that are sure to come. So they may just be holding their cards to their vest, which might be a shrewd move given the amount of attention on the case and the highly sensitive nature of the testimony that was given today.
Absolutely, and we're just continuing to showcase some of this video footage that we've seen from outside of the courtroom so far this week. There's Diddy's other son, Quincy. They're entering the Sprinter van alongside the mother of his first child, I should say, Lisa Hilton, another high-profile individual, all crowding into there to support Diddy. Again, media has been all over this case. No cameras inside of the courtroom. Ultimately, before we step away for a 2-minute break and transition to some of those other topics, Adante, what do you...
All right, again, I just wanted to showcase some of the legal analysts continuing to talk about this case as well, but we are getting some major updates here regarding the cross-examination, and I want to bring this to your attention because this might be the biggest takeaway so far that we are learning as the defense continues to talk about the loving correspondence between Diddy and Cassie. I do want to bring this to your attention here on Live Now from Fox. Yeah, this is the big one, where the defense asked Ventura to read the message. I haven't talked to you. You rushed me off the phone. I'm hurt. I don't need money. I need attention. The defense asked Ventura wanted special time with Combs, and she says yes. The defense also notes Ventura said she told Combs, I love you. You make me better, and wrote about wanting a baby. Ventura confirms the messages, admits knowing Combs had 6 kids then. The defense asked Ventura about messages on breakups, clarifying if it doesn't matter meant weekend or weekday. Ventura confirms. The defense notes Combs suggested calling Jules. Ventura agrees that she could. The defense asked Ventura if her messages was explicit about an upcoming freak-off. The prosecution objects. The judge has requested for a recess right now, so they are taking a quick break. We are going to continue our updates here for you on Live Now from Fox as we are getting more details from inside the court here. And again, more takeaways coming in just a little bit.
Welcome back here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. Let's dive into the details of day 3 of the Diddy trial in New York City. Of course, the music mogul facing these charges, the charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. On the stand today, it was Cassie, his ex-girlfriend. The direct questioning ended. Cross-examination will begin tomorrow. A live picture there outside of the courthouse and more graphic details. We want to warn our audience before we get into this because they are seriously disturbing in nature. We're going to be joined right now by Fox 5 New York's Lisa Evers on the ground there on a rainy day in New York City. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. What's the biggest takeaway? What did we learn today?
Bombshell testimony that was given by Cassie Ventura. I was in the courtroom here on the 26th floor in the building you see right behind me, federal court here in Lower Manhattan, and all the tension was building all day long, hour by hour since early this morning. She's describing the freak-offs, hundreds of freak-offs that she said she had during the course of her relationship with Sean Diddy Combs. They were happening almost weekly, lasting 1 to 4 days. They were taking drugs. She said she developed an opiate addiction because she had to take downers in order to just numb herself afterwards. She was in physical pain. She had physical ailments like UTIs, but was still forced to, in her words, participate in.
You know what I mean? She said she'll have UTI. She should have been trying to see and get a test for the sexual, you know what I mean, diseases that Diddy led her up on. You know what I mean? That shows kind of wicked acts by the acts of him. If you're in a romantic relationship with this girl that you say you love, but you have her doing sexual actions, then go deny the allegation and says it was consensual. It's sick. It's sick. That's the reason. That's the reason why I can understand that how explicit and graphic of this, you know what I mean, heinous acts. You know, that's the reason why they didn't want to televise it. That's the reason why they didn't want to share the videos, because how graphic it was, how horrifying this stuff was. It's sickening. It's disgrace, and you know, at this point, Diddy got to man up and take some kind of accountability for his actions. Because I'm gonna tell y'all, man, if it be more people, if it's numerous of people testifying and using the same exact testimony Cassie used, man, Diddy's gonna be fried. He's already fried. How I'm looking at the whole thing here, how I'm listening, you know what I mean, at all the testimony Cassie had. You know what I mean? In this day 5, you know, I'm just giving you guys a sneak, you know what I mean, recap. I'm just giving you guys a preview of a recap that I, you know what I mean, going over. You know, this is just a little recap here, man. And I'm thinking that whole thing in this trial that, you know, they're going to continue to use Cassidy. And once they get these witnesses to come forward, Diddy's going to be fried, y'all. Let's go. He's fried.
In these freak-offs, and then as her dissatisfaction grew with the freak-offs, and she was seeing very clearly that there was no way she was going to have anything resembling a normal, healthy family type relationship with Sean Diddy Combs. She started to try to get away from him and to build her own life independently. And then, Andy, she described how he threatened her with exposure of these very, very graphic videos that he had made of these freak-offs if she decided to try to leave him or to try to get away from him. And then there were also many beatings, frequent beatings. They showed in court today the graphic photos of the beatings, the injuries that she sustained from those beatings. And then towards the end of the day, she even said that when she left Combs in 2018, she went to have dinner with him. Afterwards, they went back to her house to kind of finish things off, as she said, in a positive way, a friendly way. She says he allegedly raped her in her living room in her California home. So people, when one of the jurors first went, it was just one thing after another, just one devastating emotional blow. And one juror, when they first saw those images of these freak-offs, which were not made public, which are under seal in the court record, so we can't even request them, was so graphic. She clutched her chest like this, like sighing like that. And then, all of this is happening. Combs on one side, his supporters, his family on one side, her husband, her mother, and other family members for her on the other side. And she broke down when she described this sexual assault and said that this burden of everything she'd been through and all of these, all of the inner conflict she went through, like, I love him, but I can't stay in this relationship. I can't change it. I can't make it better. I have to get away. And that even in 2023, when she was now married to Alex Fine, who was in the courtroom for her husband, who's been very protective and supportive of her, they had already had 2 kids by 2023. She said that she turned to him one night. She just felt so burdened by everything that she basically said to him, listen, you can raise these kids on your own. You don't need me. I'm worthless. And then she tried to leave the house to go do self-harm, as she put it. And he stopped her and basically saved her life at that point. And then the final piece of bombshell testimony came when she revealed that she received $20 million to settle that civil suit that started this whole thing in November of 2023, Andy. So a tremendous amount there, and it was just getting more emotional and more intense throughout the day, as you can imagine, Andy.
I can only imagine what you were witnessing there inside the courtroom. And of course, as we noted, you noted that the jury, some of the lawyers, the judge can see some of these images of these.
Now, during her testimony, she told the juries that after a breakup, she was raped by Combs. The jurors were shown image of these graphic photos that was explicit, excuse me there, y'all. Explicit, that they called freak-offs, where Combs allegedly directed Ventura and a male escort to perform these sex acts. Combs watched as Ventura testified. She didn't. Look at him. You treat me like you are like Turner. Ike Turner. And it says Ventura told the jury Combs will provide drugs, including ecstasy, cocaine, GHB for the freak-off. She said she preferred that she could dissociate from what was going on because she didn't want to be there. So she wanted to dissociate herself for what she was seeing, what was going on at these freak-offs. And she didn't want to have no part. It says at one point, a text, she seen Combs was displayed. Nothing good comes out of him anymore. You treat me like you was Ike Turner, she says. Ventura says in the text that you regret your actions. Now Ventura says he will physically abuse her during the freak-offs section. So in the clip of 2016 video taken at Los Angeles hotel showing Combs attacking Ventura, was shown message was displayed that he sent her afterwards that repeatedly asked her to call him, saying he has 6 kids and to please call. Cohn was not arrested at the Los Angeles hotel. So it says, Ventura says her friend called the police who showed up to her apartments. She answered their question but would not tell them Cohn's name, saying she wasn't ready. Just that moment, I didn't want to hurt him in that way, Ventura told the juries. So it says Ventura was also asked to give a specific about blackmail material. She says he had, including freak off videos of her intoxicated. Combs would say he was going to release them and embarrass me and put my career in jeopardy, Ventura testified. Ventura said she was afraid it would be released and she had to answer to her mother. It says here, I fear for my career, I fear for my family. It's just embarrassing, all of it, Ventura says. Rape allegation. Ventura also told the jury that after they broke up in 2018, Combs raped me in my living room despite telling him no. Ventura testified Combs said to her the car of another musician she dated would be blown up and that he wanted his friend there to see it. Ventura also testified that during one beating in the car, a couple of Combs' employees was present. She talked a lot about the other people that was involved and the action that Sean Diddy Combs took to make sure that those people follow along with the plan, said the criminal attorney, Mills, who is not involved in the case. Now you got all this explicit, pornographic, photos. The video don't lie, you guys. So you will see that the videos don't show that these sex, acts, these heinous acts was non-consensual. And it says here in the statement that there has been consensual sex, it become very difficult for a prosecutor to point enough evidence to show that it tips over the line from consent to legal behavior. She says the prosecution still have some work to do to establish that these things was done solemnly for the benefit of his sexual preferences, that he established his business simply for that benefit. So Combs' demeanor in court, Combs, the daughter, was not in the courtroom Wednesday, but his 2 sons and mother were. Okay, you guys. We're going to pretty much wrap it. For more updates, please subscribe to my channel, man. We had a lot to cover today. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. Man, these videos are explicit, man. It shows graphic, shows this pornography, shows a lot of things, man. And that's why they haven't released the video. So for more, content, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. You guys been a blessing. Big shout outs to Tammy, Murray. Shout out to all you guys that was here. Man, thank you guys, man. It's been a long one. So for more content, please stay updated. Please subscribe. We out.